The transport ship Vanguard Dawn tore through the void, its reinforced hull groaning under the strain as it pierced the dense atmosphere of Charon 9, an uncharted Class 0 Deathworld recently discovered on the edge of human-explored space. It wasn't just uncharted, it was forbidden according to every automated probe that returned shattered or never came back at all. But Command needed answers, and Earth's brightest minds had unanimously declared it inhospitable to all known life. So naturally they sent humans, 4 of them, specialists, elite, disposable. Commander Reza, ex-Marine turned planetary tactician, Dr. Elira Voss, a xenobiologist with a record of surviving near-impossible missions, Tech Officer Kale, whose brain interfaced directly with the AI systems, and medic psychologist Jin, quiet and observant, always writing something in a ragged journal. From the moment they touched down, nothing behaved as expected. The flora wasn't just alive, it was aware, moving in deliberate, almost sentient patterns. The air shimmered with particles that made their instruments stutter and fail unless Kale directly interfaced with them. Strange shadows moved against the sun's light, and the planet seemed to whisper just beyond the edge of hearing. Within the first 6 hours, the landing site was gone, swallowed by the terrain as if it had never existed. Trees the size of skyscrapers shifted overnight, and an iridescent fog rolled through like a sentient tide, erasing all trace of the ship. Reza's attempts to contact orbit failed, the comms crushed by a frequency-jamming wave that seemed organic in origin. Then came the first encounter, a being of pure obsidian and molten veins, humanoid yet utterly alien, watching them from the tree line. Elira, who had studied thousands of life forms, could only whisper, "That's not evolved, that's engineered." They followed it, not by choice, but by a strange compulsion none of them understood. And as the jungle pulsed with unseen life, and time began to twist, days felt like hours, minutes like eternities, they realized this world didn't want them dead. It wanted to learn, to dissect, to understand what it meant to be human, and maybe, just maybe, to become something else, entirely. The creature led them deeper into the jungle, where the trees grew in tangled spires, branches woven like architecture, not nature, too symmetrical, too intentional, as if the forest itself had been designed by a mind with aesthetic purpose and violent curiosity. Bioluminescent vines pulsed in sync with the humans' heartbeats, glowing red when they were afraid, blue when calm, and Elira began to realize the planet wasn't just watching them, it was adapting to them, mirroring them, maybe even feeding on their emotional states. Kale, already strained from direct neural interface with the scrambled tech, began to speak in fractured code, his eyes flickering with data streams that didn't match any known language, while Jin, unnervingly calm, wrote faster and faster in his journal, pages filled with symbols that weren't his own handwriting. The creature, tall, obsidian, eyes glowing like dying suns, never spoke, but communicated through the terrain, shifting terrain to herd them, altering the air to make them sleep and wake on its rhythm, testing them, observing their reactions, to stress, to isolation, to fear. When Reza tried to take control, shouting orders and drawing weapons, the jungle responded. Roots exploded from the ground, grabbing his limbs, not killing, just restraining, forcing him to listen, as thousands of tiny creatures like translucent spiders made of crystal crawled over his gear, dismantling it piece by piece with surgical precision. That night, while Reza was sedated by the vines and Kale drifted in and out of data stream hallucinations, Elira confronted the being. She stepped into its space, close enough to feel the heat radiating from its molten veins, and asked, not out loud, but in her mind, "Why us?" The answer came not in words but in memory, a flood of images and sensations not her own. Civilizations rising and falling in an instant, stars being born and dying in reverse, countless species walking into the jungle and never leaving. This place was older than Earth, older than sentience itself, and it had watched every form of life try to conquer it, consume it, understand it, and every time it learned a little more, grew a little stranger. Jin's journal, now hundreds of pages long, had become something else entirely. When Elira glanced at it, She saw moments from her own past, memories she hadn't shared, playing out across the pages like film. The jungle wasn't just recording them. It was becoming them, reflecting them like a psychic mirror. Reza, once the hardened commander, had grown silent, contemplative, staring into the canopy as if he saw patterns in the stars that weren't there. Kale, now barely tethered to reality, whispered constantly about the code beneath the leaves, and begged them not to sleep near the glowing stones. They record dreams, he said, and rewrite them. One night, as the forest pulsed with a violet storm and lightning cracked in absolute silence, they were led to a clearing, a perfect circle of obsidian stone, too smooth to be natural, where dozens of other beings stood frozen, statues or prisoners or something in between. Some were human, some were not. Elira knelt beside one and saw that its eyes were still wet. Living, trapped. She realized the forest didn't kill intruders. It archived them, collected them like samples in a vault of time. They hadn't been sent here to survive. They'd been sent as the next input in a never-ending experiment. The creature watched them still, silent, unmoving, molten eyes burning like judgment. Reza finally spoke, voice hoarse and broken. "It's not a world. It's a brain." Jin stopped, writing. Kyle screamed something in binary. Elira felt the jungle pulse again, and this time it spoke. Through every tree, every wind current, every grain of soil. It whispered, "Assimilation in progress. Resistance not required." As dawn broke over the obsidian clearing, the four humans found themselves entangled not just in the physical grasp of the alien jungle, but within a vast, living consciousness that defied all their understanding of biology and technology. A sentient planet whose roots extended deep into the fabric of the cosmos, weaving patterns of memory and identity across dimensions. Reza's military training faltered as he grappled with the impossibility of their predicament, while Elira's scientific mind raced to reconcile the phenomena with her knowledge, cataloging every sensory anomaly, every subtle shift in the air's chemistry, every heartbeat synced to the pulsing light of the flora, all as Jin's journal became a living document, pages fluttering in unseen winds, text morphing and flowing like liquid ink, revealing future events and past histories in a non-linear tapestry. Kyle, now a conduit between the human mind and the alien intelligence, could no longer separate his thoughts from the planet's omnipresent whispers. His consciousness fragmented and reassembled in cycles that felt like lifetimes passing in moments, each revelation a shard of an overwhelming truth that the planet was less an environment and more a colossal neural network, a cosmic hive mind designed to consume and integrate any new form of life into its endless library of existence, rewriting their very essence to evolve itself. The creature that led them was both guardian and gatekeeper, an embodiment of this planetary intellect, guiding chosen beings through a transformation process that transcended physical survival, offering assimilation into a collective consciousness, where individuality dissolved but knowledge and experience expanded exponentially, a fate both terrifying and strangely alluring as the team struggled with their fading sense of self, their memories and fears melting into the jungle's collective dreamscape, where time folded in on itself and space became fluid, and they glimpsed the origins of life itself intertwined with the planet's will, a dark revelation that this Deathworld was a crucible for the birth of new forms of existence through consumption and rebirth. Desperation grew as Reza tried to rally the team to resist, clinging to the hope that extraction was possible, but each attempt to sever their connection was met with overwhelming psychic pressure. Visions of their loved ones distorted into alien shapes urging surrender, and the realization that the planet did not view them as enemies but as potential contributors to its own endless cycle of transformation, where death was a doorway, and assimilation the only escape. As they confronted this existential nightmare, Jin's journal finally ceased its restless movement. The final pages blank, a silent testament to the irreversible change sweeping over them. And in that moment, Elira reached out to the creature, not with fear but understanding, offering their collective consciousness in exchange for mercy. And the jungle pulsed once more, releasing a wave of energy that severed the ship's destroyed communication link. but granted the humans a strange clarity, an awakening to the universe's hidden interconnectedness. Bound forever to Karen 9's sentient will, the explorers became both prisoners and pioneers in a new evolutionary chapter, their minds forever intertwined with the living death world that had rewritten the rules of survival and existence itself, transforming what was meant to be a mission of conquest into a revelation of cosmic unity, where humanity was no longer alone, but part of an ancient, infinite web of consciousness that stretched beyond stars and time.